In the 21st century, power isn't defined by who has the biggest army, the tallest skyscraper, or the loudest speech at the UN. It's defined by who can control the flow of trade, technology, data, and influence. And nowhere is that more evident than in the Indo-Pacific, a vast, restless expanse of ocean connecting half of humanity, trillions of dollars in trade, and a silent contest of ideologies. Welcome to Beyond Binary. Today, we dive deep into the Indo-Pacific game, how India is redefining global power. But before we decode this geopolitical chessboard, let's step back to a moment that exposed just how fragile global systems really are: the last shutdown. When the shutdown hit, it wasn't just about offices closing or supply chains halting. It was about a sudden, synchronized pause in the machinery of globalization. In simple terms, a shutdown refers to a temporary halt in major governmental or economic functions, usually caused by a failure in political consensus, financial crises, or large-scale security events. Unlike a lockdown, which restricts people's movement, a shutdown freezes the system, budgets, institutions, logistics, and the effects ripple far beyond borders. The last global shutdown was triggered by a perfect storm: the energy crunch, escalating trade tensions, and an intense cyber attack on maritime logistics systems that paralyzed several ports across the Indian Ocean. Ships carrying semiconductors, energy cargo, and critical minerals were stranded. Insurance markets panicked. For weeks, nations like India, Japan, and Australia scrambled to restore communication lines and maritime tracking systems. The causes were as much political as they were technological. Increasing digital interdependence had made critical infrastructure a soft target. When ports shut down, economies didn't just lose trade, they lost trust. It was a wake-up call. Globalization had become too centralized, too dependent on single points of failure. And that's where India saw both a risk and an opportunity. You see, the Indo-Pacific isn't just a stretch of water between two oceans. It's the main artery of the global economy. Almost 65% of world trade passes through these sea lanes. Whoever ensures their stability doesn't just protect their own economy, they become an indispensable node of global power. For decades, this region was dominated by the US-China balance. America's naval presence ensured open seas, while China expanded influence through trade, ports, and debt diplomacy under the Belt and Road Initiative. But as that relationship soured, a vacuum opened, a middle ground for nations looking for autonomy rather than alignment. That's where India began to redefine the game. Post-shutdown, New Delhi accelerated what analysts now call the multipolar security doctrine, a strategic shift from being a regional player to becoming a stabilizing anchor in the Indo-Pacific. India understood that power in the new century wouldn't come from isolation, but from connectivity resilience, the ability to keep trade, energy, and data flowing even when systems collapse elsewhere. While the world debated alliances, India quietly began building redundant infrastructure networks, alternative shipping corridors like the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, investments in the Andaman and Nicobar Command, and joint maritime patrols with ASEAN partners. This wasn't just about defense, it was about logistics sovereignty, the power to guarantee movement in a disrupted world. At the same time, India leveraged its technological edge. With indigenous satellite constellations like NAVIC and digital public infrastructure platforms such as UPI and ONDC, India showed that sovereignty wasn't just territorial, it was digital. During the shutdown, when global payment systems faltered and data routes were compromised, India's domestic networks kept functioning. That resilience became a quiet symbol of what a sovereign tech stack can achieve in uncertain times. But perhaps the most fascinating part of this new Indo-Pacific narrative is not military or technological. It's philosophical. For the first time, India isn't just reacting to global structures, it's redefining them. Take the concept of Indo-Pacific itself. It's no longer just a geographic term. It's a vision of openness, inclusivity, and multipolarity. Where the West often sees strategy through competition, India sees it through balance. Its partnerships, from Quad with the US, Japan and Australia, to smaller, flexible groupings like IORA, are all built on one idea: strategic autonomy without isolation. In essence, India is saying, power doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. You can lead without dominating, influence without invading. Still, this isn't without friction. China views India's rise in the Indo-Pacific as a direct challenge to its maritime ambitions. The standoffs along the Himalayas are just one front of a much wider contest for influence. One fought with ports, undersea cables, and energy routes rather than tanks. Meanwhile, the United States, recalibrating after decades of Middle Eastern entanglement, now sees India as the critical pivot in maintaining a free and open Indo-Pacific. But this relationship isn't simple either. While Washington pushes for deeper defense integration, New Delhi continues to walk its tightrope, partnering with the US on technology and maritime security, but maintaining energy and defense ties with Russia. It's a delicate balancing act that few nations can manage. And that's exactly what makes India's strategy so compelling. After the last shutdown, supply chain redesign became the new arms race. Chips, cables, and cargo routes became instruments of national power. India, through initiatives like Make in India and Semicon India, began positioning itself as an alternative hub for trusted manufacturing, not to replace China outright but to diversify global dependence. In a sense, India isn't trying to dominate the Indo-Pacific, it's trying to stabilize it. And that's where true power lies in the modern era. The ability to prevent collapse, to ensure continuity, to hold the system when others falter. The effects of the shutdown made one thing clear. No single nation, however powerful, can manage this oceanic system alone. The Indo-Pacific will only stay open and secure if multiple powers share responsibility. And India's approach, pragmatic, inclusive, and grounded in civilizational depth, is offering a template for what that shared leadership could look like. So, as digital currents flow beneath submarine cables, as ships traverse choke points like the Malacca Strait, and as satellites trace the invisible borders of the Indo-Pacific sky, a quiet shift is underway. A new kind of power, resilient, distributed, and networked, is emerging. India isn't just playing the Indo-Pacific game, it's rewriting its rules. Because in a world defined by shutdowns and uncertainty, the real power doesn't belong to those who control others. It belongs to those who can keep the world connected when everything else stops. This is Beyond Binary, where we decode the systems shaping our future. If you found this exploration insightful, consider subscribing for more deep dives into geopolitics, technology, and the shifting architecture of global power. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and remember, the future isn't binary, it's connected.